Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Employability Week at the 2022 USAID Higher Education Global Evidence Summit. We have had a very busy week so far with our fireside chat with USAID Administrator Samantha Power yesterday, as well as a fascinating conversation on the future of higher education and work. I am confident, though, that today's sessions are going to be just as interesting and impactful. So thank you all so much for being here. In case you haven't seen me before on your screens, my name is Jennifer LeBron, and I am the leader of the USAID Higher Education Learning Network, the HELN, which we call the Helen. I am a representative of a global network that's really dedicated to connecting higher education stakeholders like yourselves to the ideas, evidence, practices, and people that can help you improve your work and make an impact in your communities. Today's program continues our focus on a question from the USAID Higher Education Learning Agenda, which is question number 4. How can skills or competencies such as technical and soft skills for employability be best identified, analyzed, and incorporated into curricula, teaching, and learning? You may have heard this before, but I'm going to say it again, that we are interested not just learning from our speakers, but also from the knowledge that you bring with you to the summit. And so we are once again having what we're calling a resource palooza. Now, resource palooza is an opportunity for you to share research, tools, resources, other evidence that you know or that you've used to address this employability question on the learning agenda. So during our break today, keep an eye out for an announcement that says Resource Palooza is on. And in that moment, we ask that you pause and look for a resource. It could be a link, it could be a citation, it could be the document itself. And we're asking you to share that on the Whova platform. So as you can see on the screen, when you go to navigate the Whova platform, go to the community section and search for resource, and you'll find the correct board. We will be taking your resources and updating the Higher Education Learning Agenda Evidence Gap Map, which is available on EduLinks over the next few months. So thank you in advance for participating. We really appreciate it. And we hope that this will be a useful resource for all of us moving forward in the future. So I also have a couple of quick reminders. You can find the agenda for today and the entire summit by going to the left-hand side of your screen where you'll see a menu of options. Click on agenda and to go through and find all of the programming and go ahead and add sessions to your own agenda so you don't miss out on any of interest to you. Go ahead and add that. Download the calendar app so that you can add it to your calendar, and then you'll get reminded when the session's about to start so we can see you here in our sessions. Also keep an eye out for networking time. We'll have a networking session at the end of today so that you can connect with folks, and you can do that by directly messaging them or posting a meetup on the community section of the Whova platform. And then we also encourage you to actively use the chat box to comment and share throughout the program. And then so finally, I'm going to ask you for a little bit of grace during every day of the summit, but especially today. We are a global program, and we are experiencing global challenges around internet connections. So should we lose connections with any of our speakers today or any day, we ask for your patience as we work to overcome those technical difficulties around internet connection speeds, and ask for your patience as we bring folks back. As always, closed captioning is available for all of our sessions, so you can click the closed captioning button, the CC button, at the bottom of your screen. And then in this session today, you'll also see a link to something called Otter, which is a note-taking feature in the chat. That is to support the access for our keynote speaker today, so you can please feel free to ignore that link. That is for her. Okay, with those reminders out of the way, I am delighted to introduce, I hope, our keynote speaker, Ms. Gwaliwa Mashaka. Gwaliwa is a software engineer and data scientist, and she is the co-founder of Employable Africa, a social enterprise that enhances inclusivity for people with disabilities in Africa through data and technology. She was inspired to start Employable Africa in part due to her own struggles to gain access to education and employment as a deaf woman. In her session today, Gwaliwa will share more about her personal journey and the work of Employable Africa, including a transcription service that creates both access and employment for individuals in Tanzania. She is accompanied by Employable Africa's product manager, Catherine Sawicki, who served as a representative of the University of Nevada, Reno's Disability Resource Center. So her work in transcribing real-time classroom lectures and events ultimately led to the development of a comprehensive application and live transcription service, which is a part of Employable Africa's work, and that Gwaliwa will be talking about later today. So I'm going to pause here and hope that the internet connections have been working for us and that Gwaliwa is able to join us. So I'm going to pause for a moment and say, Gwaliwa, are you here? Can you come on camera? 3, 2, 1. No. Okay. We have a backup plan. So I'm actually going to invite Catherine to come with me on the screen as we work to get Gwaliwa back. So Catherine, you are the product manager of Employable Africa. Come on screen. Oh, wait. Come on screen. Yes, wonderful. And then Gwaliwa, are you here? Am I seeing you in real time?
Thank you so much.
Yay. Okay. Catherine, we're going to hear from you another time. Gwaliwa, I'm going to turn this over to you and thank the internet for allowing you to be with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the introduction and for this opportunity. It's an honor for me to be here today. My name is Gwaliwa Peter Mashaka, has been introduced by Jennifer. I'm co-founder of Employable Africa. I'm here today to share my journey and opportunity Employable Africa is offering for people with disabilities in Africa, particularly youth. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. So my journey for empowering people with disabilities started with the personal experience. So there's this saying which says that you never know how strong you are until being strong the only option you have. So this saying is reflective to my personal journey when it's come to disability employment. So my journey begins around 2010 when I was a university student. I was pursuing Bachelor of Computer Engineering Information Technology at the University of Dar es Salaam. During that time, I got an accident. I was swimming and I got fungus from both ears. So eventually I lost my hearing completely, associated with blurring and loss of pressure, balance. And because of that, I could not continue with my studies because my university did not have accommodation for disability by that time. So I had to postpone my studies for 2 years, and it was semester-wise, so 4 semesters in total. And during that time, my doctors, my teachers were telling me that I should give up on my dream. And I should accept the condition I was in, but I never gave up. So I call it a second chance because around 2012, I got a sponsorship from government through Ministry of Health to go for cochlear implant in India. And I retained my hearing about 50% on this side by using hearing aids. So from that, I thought like my life has come back to the normal life I used to have, and the nightmare was over. So immediately I went back to university, but unfortunately I encountered another challenge. The first one was my communication was only 50% through a hearing aid. And even after 2 years, my university didn't have accommodation in terms of assisting technology for people with disabilities. So I had to adapt on lip reading from my lecturers. So I used to miss a lot in classroom in terms of deadlines and what's being spoken in the class, and relying on the friends for updates. Eventually, my grades dropped, and by that time, I lost my hearing. And another challenge I faced was perception. Before losing my hearing, I was considered as a talented student because from my primary school, secondary school, I passed as a special student in special schools, and I was in a competitive course at my college and one of the top universities in Tanzania. But immediately when I lost my hearing, people were questioning my ability to continue with my studies as engineering. So I was advised to pursue sociology because they believe for the condition I had, I could not pursue engineering studies. So I never gave up on that, actually. I keep on pursuing that despite the challenges I was facing. And the last thing was stigma associated with people with disabilities. I used to enjoy the benefits. Actually, I used to take granted for the benefits as a person without disability. I've been enjoying since birth a lot of access to almost everything and being certain of my future, my career. But people, especially my fellows, like they used to consider me getting disability as a curse, like I did something bad and it's kind of punishment to me. And when I started applying for internship opportunities, and there was this perception of employers that they think people with disability like that, too dependent. So if you hire one, it's like they were worrying about the cost associating with hiring people with disabilities. So they had a lot of excuses when it comes to hiring people with disabilities. And me having faced these challenges and consider myself as a luckiest because I know a lot of people didn't get opportunity. I got term of support from the government, retaining even half of my hearing. I started thinking like, so what's happened to children who are born with disabilities in Africa?
I'm afraid that Gwaliwa may have frozen. We lost the speaker. We did. Oh no. Okay. So again, we have a pivot plan. So please stay with us as we work to get Gwaliwa back. I'm just going to pause here and say it was, hearing her story and the heartbreak of hearing the stigma and shame that was put upon her when she got her disability and the work that she had to do to overcome in order to gain access to education was really inspiring. And we haven't gotten to the next part of the story that I wanted to hear, which is about the work of Employable Africa. But I know that her next part of her journey is to actually meeting Catherine. So Catherine, would you mind coming on screen and sort of maybe picking up the story from this point on? You are a transcriptionist. You work to provide access for individuals, and that's actually how you met Gwaliwa. I'm wondering if you could talk about your experiences in this role as a live transcriptionist and what you think has been sort of the most successful or inspiring story that you could share about this impact.
Yes, again, thank you to everyone with their patience, especially with internet connection. So I'm happy to take it up from here until Gwaliwa comes back.
Thank you so much.
Literally hoping. But to address your question, so I was a transcriptionist for the University of Nevada, Reno with their Disability Resource Center, which within itself is such a big milestone, especially for ADA and American disability advocacy. Which is really why we wanted to develop this Employable Africa within Tanzania and to expand within Eastern Africa. So to go back to your question, I think perhaps the most successful case study in my career, of course, was working with Gwaliwa. I think before she was just about to get to the precipice of that start, she had attended, like she was saying, she was attending school, but for her still, even with the cochlear implants, it was difficult for her to still, try to read lips, try to look to the board and everything. And when she had the opportunity to actually come to the United States in 2018, this was again through one of our partnerships actually with the Mandela Washington Fellowship. They provide people within Africa, Eastern Africa and South Africa as well, with the opportunity to come to the United States, learn business practices, and then take that back home and to continue their initiative from there. So when Gwaliwa joined in 2018, through the University of Nevada, Reno, where she was stationed, that's where I came in. She was able to request resources for help with her disability of hard of hearing and with her cochlear implants. And the transcription service that we provided to our students already on the university who have hard of hearing issues or are deaf or needed that extra help with their note taking, is what I was put to do, and helped her through that 6-week course. So that was a really, not only the beginning of potentially a great business plan that she can take back to Africa, but the start of our friendship. So it was really wonderful to see where she is now, and especially being here today.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's hard for maybe some of our audience to understand sort of the impact of live transcription. We're in Zoom right now. We're in a digital world. Sometimes we have lots of meetings that have sort of built-in closed captioning in the platform. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what this feels like in a live environment and why it is so important to have a live transcriptionist with individuals in order to have access to employability, employment, and to higher education.
Yes, so to address the AI elephant in the room, for those who are utilizing the or who have not known, there is a closed caption resource at the very bottom of the Zoom screen. If you press CC, you can now actually read and see what I'm saying right now. However, to us, it was important not only one of our key agendas for Employable Africa is to create career opportunities for people in Eastern Africa and to expand beyond that as well. But two, to also include a human element within the transcription. Again, I realize AI is, developing quicker and being able to pick up, and that technology is available, which I'm very thankful for, and I hope it does continue to improve. However, that human element of when I'm speaking right now, when I'm saying it's difficult for the AI to capture that. It's difficult for AI to capture when I'm being sarcastic. It's difficult for the AI to capture that I'm telling a joke, or I'm, lowering my tone for a more somber or maybe somber anecdote. So it's very hard for the AI to translate that or to transcribe that for people who are hard of hearing and deaf. And that kind of loses, again, that connection of being fully in the room, being fully present with the rest of the classroom or the event or whatever the event calls for. So with that in mind, again, we not only want to create those opportunities for people in Africa to transcribe and have those jobs available, again, to put them in person within the classroom, but to also capture that human element within speech and being able to, again, connect the deaf community and hard of hearing community even further within the engagement.
Absolutely. It's, we don't realize how much goes into our communication, right? It's not just the words that we're saying, it's the tone that we're using. And so having a live person, and it seems like building a relationship with those individuals is really successful to have, to create full access, right? To create meaningful, real access for individuals with disabilities and who are deaf and hard of hearing. So that's great. I'm seeing Gwaliwa pop onto the screen again, so we're going to go ahead and try to transition one more time. Gwaliwa, I'm so grateful that you keep on persisting. That is a theme of your life, but I'm grateful that you're doing it here today. So I'm going to turn it back over to you. We've heard a little bit about your story and how you've met Catherine. So maybe you could talk a little bit of pick up where we've left off and understanding what Employable Africa does.
Oh, yeah. So Employable Africa, what we are doing is enhancing access to employment and education for people with disabilities in Africa. We are doing that. I think the story has been covered by Catherine, how we met. So next slide, please. So the purpose of Employable Africa has partly had to do with the challenge I have faced, but the main goal is to enhance access to employment and education for people with disabilities in Africa by using the approach, three approaches. We educate, we enable, environment, and we empower people with disability in Africa. We also work with parents, teachers, and guardians to make sure that we empower the whole ecosystem for people with disabilities to attain educational, meaningful employment. And mainly we are using technology and data to achieve all this. Next slide, please. So as a problem, as said, partly had to do with me, but Employable Africa was developed around 2018. So during that time, there's a lot of things changed in Tanzania and Africa in general. So we conducted a theory of change workshop with the stakeholders after researching the situation for disability in Africa. And as Employable Africa, we came up with 3 problems we wanted to solve. The first one is lack of access. As conversion of person with disability identify as accessibility as precondition for disability inclusive. So this was our first priority. And we found that in Africa, people have issues with access to employment or access to education, as I mentioned from my experience. The other thing is relevant material. We learned that our education system is not preparing people, general youth, with and without disability for employment opportunities. The like curriculum is not adapting to industrial need. This is one of the challenges we faced. And another thing is stigma. Stigma as general perception of people towards people with disabilities, as relating to superstition belief as a curse, and also perception of ability of people with disability at workplaces as well as academic settings, like they can't do their burden, so they need to be helped all the time. So these are things we found as employable from our situation analysis. Next slide, please. So our solution is based on 3 approaches. So first one, we enable environment as accessibility as precondition for inclusive for disability. So we have 2 forms. The first one is transcription services we offer as assisting technology at workplace and school. I think Catherine has covered this. But the second one is consultation to companies about if you have a person with disability, how can you accommodate a person with disability? How can you make sure that our working environment or meeting is inclusive enough for all kinds of disabilities? So this is kind of consultation services. And the second thing is education. We have partnered with different organizations around USA, others Africa, to make sure that people with disability are prepared on transition skills from school to employment or from school to entrepreneurship so that they could be living independent after. And the third approach we are using is empower. We empower them through giving them access to opportunity. For instance, we have a platform called employableafrica.org, whereby we are matching people with disabilities and employment opportunities. Likewise, we are working with aspiring entrepreneurs as connecting them to funding opportunities. Next slide, please. So we have been partnering and we've been working with different organizations around the world, and we have some products we have adapted to meet African needs. One of them is Envision IT Africa. This is curriculum designed by Dr. Margo Izo from Ohio State University through Naisonga Center. I was there in 2018. So this curriculum was customized to meet African needs. It's based on transition skills, helping people with disability from secondary schools to go to universities, and those from universities to go to either employment opportunity or higher learning. So it's based on intellectual information technology, whereby we are training people with disability on using technology to attain economical or academic outcome pleasing them. And also financial literacy. If you want to go to university, what are the opportunities available there? How can you get financial support as a person with disabilities? And after finishing, if you want to attain your goals based on aspiration or hobbies, what are ways to go about that? So this curriculum is designing for teachers a sustainable way to make sure that the teacher know how to prepare youth with disabilities at school or colleges so that they could increase their academic and employment outcome. So Dr. Margo Izo came in Tanzania, as you can see, small picture right there. She came in 2019, whereby our role was to see the curriculum and the actual situation for disability in Africa. And eventually we were able to change some other things, resources to reflect the need of people with disabilities in Tanzania. So it's online curriculum, and we welcome people who are interested to partner with us to make sure that it's spread all over Africa. Next slide, please. Our second project is ECHO, Naisonga, Tanzania. So this is our most recent project. It's finished last month. It's sponsored by a State Department through Alumni Engagement Innovation Fund. So we worked also with the Ohio State University through Naisongo Center. We trained 30 teachers from four different regions, Arusha, Moshi, Dar es Salaam, and Iringa. We targeted teachers. We were building capacity on teacher to detect students with disability from enrollment and adapting tools and resources that could meet individual students in classroom. And at the end of the training, we have developed a handbook for teachers, project sustainability, so they could use it. And we are looking forward to work with Ministry of Education Tanzania to make sure that this training is be given to college and university, so that teachers from those colleges are prepared enough to be able to training or accept and accommodate students with disabilities, especially neurodevelopment disabilities. Next slide, please. So way forward, as I said, we have different resources, partner with different organizations. Our focus now is to make sure that we scale up these resources to impact as many people as possible. So we are looking for opportunities to collaborate with other organizations, as well as partnership. Now we are looking for financial support to scale up this curriculum to other countries in Africa, as well as distribute this handbook and customize it to the needs of other countries which might be interested to work with that. Next slide. So these are our partners. So far, we've been working with different organizations such as MCC, who have been funding us, DLab Tanzania, PARFAR, USAID, AUCD. They've been supporting us since the establishment, and we are looking for more partners to enhance access to employment and education for people with disabilities in Africa. So disability is not inability. And I am the example. Thank you so much for listening and your time. Bye.
Waliwa, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Catherine, for stepping in when the internet connection was not working for us. But I am just, I'm so grateful for you to be here to help us understand how we can be more inclusive, to think about the ways in which we can make space and find opportunities to support individuals with disabilities from these transitions from school to university to work. So thank you so much. And I want to encourage everyone, if you would like to learn more about Gwaliwa's work and to have a chance to meet with Gwaliwa and Catherine, go ahead and contact them on the Hula platform. You can message them with any questions that you have. You can also go to the resources gallery, the resources page, and the video gallery. There's some videos from Employable Africa that will share more about their work. And I'm looking at everyone in the room saying they're looking for partners. So go ahead and reach out if you have things that you want to learn from and contribute to this great work. So thank you again, Gwaliwa and Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So before we move on to our agenda, I want to remind you that we are very interested in understanding what continuing questions you have related to this week's theme and any of the sessions that you have. So we're going to ask you to share your thoughts in our further learning interest whiteboard. A link will be appearing in the chat. So on the board, you were asking to share what more you'd like to learn on this topic, as well as all the topics addressed during this week. So we'll be collecting these responses, and hopefully we'll be exploring them over the next year through the Higher Education Learning Network, the HELN. So after this session, if you have a burning question, go ahead and add it to that whiteboard. Thank you so much. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes to move into our research and practice sessions. So you'll be joining those sessions by clicking on the session name on the agenda on the left-hand menu panel on the Hoover screen. So following the block of concurrent sessions, we'll have a brief break, and then we'll have the Q&A sessions with our poster presenters. And so remember, the poster sessions are pre-recorded, so you can view them on Hoover at your leisure, but go ahead and go into those Q&A sessions. You're gonna have a great opportunity to have a one-on-one or one-on-few conversation with those amazing presenters, ask questions, share information. So go ahead and join those Q&A sessions as well. And then finally, I encourage you to come on back because our last session of the day is a youth panel called Journeys to Employability. We heard yesterday about the importance of listening to youth, and this is your opportunity. We're going to hear from 3 youth about their transitions from university to employment and learn more about sort of that winding path that many of them took and what that impact had on their lives. So we look forward to seeing you at the end of the day today. But for right now, go ahead, take a quick stretch break, and then head into those concurrent sessions. There's some really great presentations that I hope you'll join us for. And I'll see you back here later today. Thank you so much.